Nice pants, Goose. The sniper is the true ninja of the modern battlefield. He or she must be patient, methodical, and most of all, invisible.
Yes, there's something quite like finding that perfect perch in the battlefield and scoping out your enemies from a distance to execute a precise headshot.
Sniper Elite V2 puts you in the place of an old-school assassin and allows you to get up close and personal with your enemy from a distance. We should warn you, some of the images in this game are pretty graphic. The original Sniper Elite was released in 2005, and it put you deep behind enemy lines in war-torn Berlin a few days before the end of World War II. You played Carl Fairburn, a US secret agent disguised as a German sniper. It was your job to obtain nuclear weapons information before those sneaky Russians could.
Maybe I can flank them.
Well, Sniper Elite V2 is not so much a sequel as it is a remake. You still play as Carl and you're still stuck deep in war-torn Germany, but this time you're racing to stop the launch of German V2 rockets, each loaded with a new chemical weapon that could alter the outcome of the war.
Wolf, as a plan, V2 rockets.
It's not a very creative stretch from the original story, but fortunately the plot takes the backseat pretty quickly and stays there.
Before each mission you're given a moody monologue briefing, and other than that there's only a handful of cutscenes, but heck, I don't really mind this because I feel like I've played every single World War II scenario out there, so I was happy just to cruise along on this wafer-thin storyline.
Yeah, I agree. At first I thought this was actually a direct remake of the original, not helped by that confusing title.
I learned that the V actually stands for Versagenweapon, but it means vengeance weapon.
Nice German. This straightforward storytelling also applies to the objectives you'll face in the 10 campaign missions. Each has you pushing deeper into battle-weary Berlin as you take out convoys, assassinate high-ranking officers, and hunt down important documents that reveal the whereabouts of your next objective.
I kept looking, hoping to find some clue.
It's bare-bones stuff, especially the levels themselves. Berlin is a bit of a ghost town apart from the pockets of Krauts and Reds you'll encounter. It's just you, your wits, and of course your trusty rifle.
It's the gameplay that will pull you through this, not the narrative. Each level is constructed to channel you through a linear path that will eventually lead to an open shooter gallery dotted with enemies. Some will be patrolling, some stationed on machine guns, and even the occasional enemy sniper camped up high with a cheeky bottle of wine. And there's a real satisfaction in setting up your posse, marking out all the enemies, and then taking them out before they even knew what hit them.
It's a nice change from the usual run and gunning we're used to seeing in historical war games, isn't it? A nice touch is the way you can use environmental sounds like loud explosions or the chime of a bell tower to cover the sound of your rifle. And this means you can clear an entire area without a single guard noticing, which felt particularly badass.
Yeah, that stuff was fantastic. I also like the slow-mo X-ray kill cam, which we've seen before in games like Fallout and Max Payne, but there's extra detail here that make it that much more impactful. Keeping your heart rate down allows you to hold your breath, which in turn slows time to make the shot.
The second that slow motion kicks in, you know you've nailed the shot.
Hitting your target often rewards you with a detailed X-ray that displays a full skeletal system with vital organs that can shatter and explode on impact. That's gonna tickle. Hex, at first I was a huge fan of these slow-mo X-ray kills because they do punctuate a precisely placed shot. But after a while, with no option to skip them, I turned the frequency of them down in the settings, and sadly it's then that the real flaws of this game start to show through.
Yeah, for one, the enemy AI is hilariously incompetent. Occasionally you're forced to go all Sam Fisher, sneaking around close quarters, stealthily snapping necks. But enemy behaviour is so sporadic and buggy, most patrolling Nazi would just stare blankly at me before turning around and goose-stepping off again.
Yeah, and the camera and controls are pretty sticky indoors too, so I gave up using that cover system early on. Luckily, the enemy AI is easy to exploit, so you can just run around town, Tommy gun a-blazing.
I hated those indoor sections. I mean, this is a sniping game. Don't confine me to tiny rooms. I definitely preferred getting back outside and into the streets. Luckily, the later levels do open up a bit more, and then you'll have to watch out for roving patrols and deadly tanks. In these situations, learning how to tag enemies with binoculars, set landmines, or set wire traps become crucial for survival.
Or you can just shoot the glowing red fuel caps on the back of the tanks.
I know, what's up with that? Who designs a tank with a giant flammable fuel tank on the back?
Yes, there's some pretty gamey stuff in this game, like your typical red barrels scattered around. Trucks also have rather nice explosions if you hit their fuel tanks, and everything can be solved with a bullet.
If it all feels a little too one-man army for you, you can turn up the difficulty, which add elements such as bullet drop and wind factor. But be warned, this is for the purists out there, and enemy sniper shots will become as punishing as they are exhilarating.
All platforms let you play the entire campaign in co-op, which I'd recommend if you're feeling a bit lonely out there. But sadly, only the PC version has multiplayer versus, which I think is some of the best fun to be had in this game.
Sniping games do seem perfect for multiplayer on paper, though they can become a bit of a camp fest. But the maps here were really well thought out with multiple levels, and plenty of spots can turn into your own little sniper's nest.
Having to switch over to binoculars to tag an enemy was also a nice touch, especially when you spot someone who's just spotted you. Hey, that sinister kid is looking at me again. Hex, I don't think I should have liked this game as much as I did. It's strangely satisfying. That rush that you get from those slow motion kills.
Yeah, I could tell you're having a little bit more fun with this than I was. Look, it feels really copy-paste from the original, which luckily still works well for the most part, although some sections feel a little bit dated. But with no deathmatch for the console version, just cuts out a huge chunk of replayability, so it's 6 out of 10 from me.
Yeah, I'm giving it 7.5.